உங்களுக்கு interest இருந்தா மாதவி ஆண்டி இருக்காங்க and she has a couple of the seeds in packets, so you can go home and plant it into your garden. 3 மாசத்துக்கு அப்புறம் we check in with you again. You take a picture of it and send it to us. You'll get a e-badge. So all it's a small effort from the charity team. சரிங்களா?
Thank you. So we'll move on to our next segment. The next one is a student panel segment, and this is going to be hosted by Shushant. Shushant is a junior at Alliance Academy, and he's the committee lead in the information committee in GATS tutoring. He's currently pursuing cybersecurity and computer science and is leading our college information session today.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Shushant.
So, hello and welcome. So, essentially what we're going to have today is we're going to have our guest speakers here, very knowledgeable and very smart high school seniors here, explain to us all about the college application process, what they did in high school, all those kinds of things. This is a really great opportunity. They know a lot more than I do. They know a lot more than everybody really in this room. They're the most knowledgeable about high school. They just went through it. So, ask all your questions. We'll get through everything. Right? The first thing we want to talk about is just like first give a general introduction, say your name, what you're doing currently pursuing, and what you're thinking about pursuing in college, all that. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to you guys.
So hi, my name is Ashwath. I am a senior at Duluth High School, and I haven't decided where I'm going for undergrad yet, but I am pre-med and pre-law, and I'll be majoring in public health or healthcare policy.
Hello, my name's Nishad, and I go to West Forsyth High School. I'm a senior, obviously, and I am going to be studying in New York University. I'll be doing business and political economy, and I'll be also running track at New York University.
Hi everyone, I'm Adi Krish. I'm a senior at Lambert High School, and I'm going to go to Georgia Tech for computer science.
So, as you can see, we have a wide variety of people, so give a round of applause for all our guest speakers. Alright, so the first thing we're going to start off with is your journey, essentially. So, I want to know, and I think our audience wants to know, how did you come to figure out what you want to do? Because I know for a lot of people, especially in middle school and high school, a lot of people don't know what they're going to do. They're really like, they're off track. They don't know if they're going to go into medical, they don't know if they're going to go into computer science, they don't know if they're going to go to law. There's all sorts of things you can do. There's hundreds of thousands of different jobs, and people just don't know what they're going to do. So how did you come to decide what you're going to do, really?
So I guess I'll go first. And so when I started high school, I knew I wanted to be like a surgeon or a doctor. And so I came in with that mentality. Freshman year, like you said, people aren't really sure what they want. So freshman year and sophomore year is kind of to explore all those different things and to start getting more engaged in the school and the different activities they had. And so one of those things was, like the Science Olympiad team. I did that in middle school. I continued that throughout high school. I had also done theater in middle school, acting and directing things, and I really enjoyed that. So that was something I continued all 4 years throughout high school. And now I'm like the president of our theater honor troupe. I've directed plays. We've won like regional competitions. We've performed at conferences. And so that was something that it helped me discover what I want to do, in the sense that it helped me become like a more well-rounded person and helped me discover how I want to change the world, if you will. And then things like, I always kind of thought law was very interesting, and so I joined our school's like mock trial team, which is like debate. And so eventually kind of by exploring a lot of different things in those first few years, I really came to, those all kind of came together to help form my eventual passion for healthcare policy and kind of changing the way our healthcare system works. And so that was kind of how I came to that conclusion, just by exploring a lot of different things over time.
So for me, coming out of middle school was very easy for me. School just came easy, and like I was cruising through middle school. And so I would always be like outside and like having like lots of time to do like different activities like dancing, singing, like instruments, or like just being outside playing a sport. So going into high school, I was like, let's just see if the jump from like middle school to high school is like that big of a difference. And to start off, ninth grade year was pretty calm for me. Obviously, it kind of stopped halfway due to COVID, but ninth grade and like even 10th grade school was starting to become easy for me, and like it wasn't ramping up just yet. So I decided to spend a lot of time in my extracurricular activities, whether it was like dance for GATS here or playing a sport in college, in high school. I mean, I got heavily into running track in high school, and I joined my track and field team, and that took up a lot of time for me. And then as well, I did dance not only at GATS, but I also do dance outside of GATS. I've always been interested in dancing, so I do dance at a local American studio as well, just trying to learn different varieties of dance. And so that passion for me to like always be like involved in like some like activity and like always being active like made me want to believe that I wanted to possibly do something like that involved like being active in college as well. So I was like, let me see if I can take my talent either for dance or for running track in high school to the next level, which is college. And so senior year, I had the opportunity to explore different options of like potentially either joining a dance team or running track in college, and that's eventually what happened. And I eventually got the offer to go run track at New York University. But why I chose New York University and like how I got there was because I really wanted to do something related to math. And after my 11th grade year, after doing statistics, I really thought something related to math would be very exciting for me to do. And then senior year, I decided to take AP macroeconomics, and that class I immediately fell in love with. It just like made so much sense to me, and like I felt comfortable, like the material just made sense. And so I wanted to really push towards doing something related to economics in college. And so thinking about some of the stuff I did in like my extracurriculars, and I was significantly part of this club called FBLA, the Future Business Leaders of America. And so in that, I competed in like a finance and economics event, and I had won some I won regionally in my event. And so knowing that I had a good background in economics, I knew that I wanted to do something related to business econ. And going to New York City is like one of the biggest business hubs, so I thought that would be the perfect fit. And so that's how I just came about choosing my major, which was business economics. So I just really just fell in love with my class, and like I knew I wanted to do something related to a math background, and so that's how I just chose business economy.
So when it came to like deciding majors for me, I was like really not sure. In fact, I wasn't even sure what major I wanted to do until my 11th grade, and even then I was still a bit hazy on it. So how I did it was in my freshman year, I just tried to get a feel for high school, focus on academics. And starting my sophomore and junior year, I started focusing more on getting internships and more work opportunities in a variety of work fields. So I tried a real estate internship, I did a research internship and a mathematics internship. And I also did a programming internship under professors at Georgia Tech. And after all of that, I felt that programming is one that called to me most, and thus I decided on programming after that. So as far as like other extracurriculars, the one I did the most was Quizzball. I started in my freshman year as a JV member, and in my sophomore year, I was promoted to vice captain, and I kept the position in 11th grade too. We won national championships in our 11th grade, which was a really fun experience. It was in Chicago, and I got to learn things other than CS as well there, and focus on things like literature, history, and widen my scope of knowledge. And in my senior year, our seniors left, and I was promoted to captain. Right now, we have won the state championship again, and we're looking to compete in nationals again this year.
Nice.
And yeah.
All right. So I just wanted to say real quickly that every single one of our guest speakers has had an incredible journey, like a great journey, right? The thing is, from 9th, 10th, to 11th grade, you won't know what you have to do. But as you slowly go through those grades, you'll see, oh, I like these things, and you specifically pick those things that you like, and you choose whatever, say, for example, Ashwat did a ton of different things, but he finally picked the pre-med and pre-law because he wanted to go into those areas specifically. So for all our 9th, 10th, whatever, middle school, do all the things that you can in the time period, right? Because this is the time that you have time. Like as the counselor said, right? you only have so much time. 11th and 12th grade, you're applying to colleges. 11th grade, you're really working really hard. So don't wait until 11th grade. Start finding out what you love in 9th and 10th grade, and eventually, by the time you get into 11th grade, you'll have an idea of what you want to do. So I want to transition into our next topic for today, and that's that there's really two things that we have to focus on in high school, right? We have our academic life in school, and then we have our extracurricular life outside of school. What do you do, clubs and all that. So I wanted to, you guys obviously have done a wide variety of clubs, so I wanted to get your advice on, and I think your audience also wants to get your advice on, what kind of clubs do you guys recommend, or how do you find, I guess again, like, how do you balance those two things? How do you balance school and extracurriculars, and which thing do you really think is more important there?
So I guess I'll talk a little bit about the extracurriculars. So like you said, in those first couple of years, you should try out, whatever you can, whatever interests you. And over time, the things that you don't really care all too much about, those will fall off. And then the activities that you do care about, you're passionate about, you should continue to spend more time in those, get into leadership positions, and just kind of develop those passions. Sorry, can you ask the question again? The extracurriculars. Yeah, well.
How do you manage your time between the two?
Well, it's difficult. I'm not going to say that it's easy at all. A lot of it is just working whenever you can. Sometimes if you have like that homeroom period or advisement period, it's just working during those times. A lot of extracurriculars take place, after school, and you're not getting home till like 4:30, 5 o'clock, especially if you're doing the sport. Like sometimes, it's like even later than that. So it's a lot of working in those short periods of time and working as efficiently as possible. I think that was one of the most important things.
Yeah, similar to Ashwath, just make sure you take advantage of all the time you have at school. Like, yes, you want time to like talk with your friends at lunch and like socialize at lunch, but like if you have like an extra 15 minutes at the end of your class period, or like if you have like a study hall, I know some schools have that, but really take advantage of that time, because especially for me, I always have track from 4 to 6 every single day after school, so I always need to make sure that like I get my work done before, so I have like a clear mind and like I'm ready to go and like well rested before I get into track, because you don't want to be staying up late every single night after you come home and like after you eat dinner. You want to try and make sure you develop like good habits of like sleeping like on time and like not staying up past midnight too much. So like whenever you have the time, take advantage of it and like make sure you get the work done. Even though you may be like, oh, it's just this small thing, I can figure it out on the weekend, I can do it later. Try to get the small things done first before it piles up into something bigger.
So what I did for my time management was I kind of prioritized certain activities and that I liked more and just spent more time on them. So for academics, I just set like a minimum amount of goals I would make each year, like all A's or take these many AP courses, get P scores, and just set those aside for academics, and just try to make those minimum goals. But then for extracurriculars, it was a bit more flexible, where I did a bunch of them, like volunteering at GATS, teaching, more casual clubs like handcrafts club, crochet club, etc. But I focused most on quiz bowl, and that took the majority of my time. And I think just balancing up the amount of time I spent on each extracurricular helped me not burn out and get as much done as possible.
Okay, that's really great insight. So what I'll say about this is focus on a couple clubs that you really like, and make sure you prioritize your mental and physical health, because those things are things that won't come back to you. If you sleep at 3 a.m. every single day, like I know some of my friends do, you're going to do well in school, sure, and you might get really good extracurriculars, but you need to prioritize things that matter in the long term, because if you're doing that every day, in the future you're going to struggle with your sleep schedule, and that's bad for your health, that's bad for your mental health, right? You're not going to be as active, and it might even impact your academics if you're sleeping that late. So be very careful in managing your time. If you don't think that you can take, let's say some people take like 10 AP classes in a single year, if you don't think you can take that amount, lower it. Make sure you focus on your mental and physical health. That's just as important. And also focus on these extracurriculars. They're also really important when you apply to colleges. It's not just your grades. So if you think you can do these amount of classes, but you would be spending all of your time on just studying for these classes, I wouldn't go ahead and do that. I would try to maximize my time like in both of those things. Okay, so the next question I want to go over is really college applications. So that's a really big thing for 9th, 10th, you're not really thinking about that, but you want to start preparing for those things now. You want to prepare your extracurriculars, your activities, you want to tailor around getting into college and doing those things. And you also want to do the things you love. So I really want to ask you guys, with the college application process, how early did you guys really start preparing, and what did you guys do to start preparing?
Sorry, before I answer that, I wanted to say one more thing about the extracurriculars, right? And so, you may wonder, okay, besides the college applications, what else is it useful for, or deciding what you want, why else are you doing these things? And I think for the most part, one of the most important reasons is because those don't have to be stressful things. They're things to help you unwind, relax, which is good for mental and physical health, but I think that also, one, keeps you happier, and if you're happier, you're more successful in your academics and in other things. A lot of times people think that if you're successful, you'll be happy, and the more successful you are, the happier you are. But I think it's the opposite way. I think you end up being more successful if you're happy. And so, those extracurriculars are very, very important to keeping you happy, and that in turn will help you do better in school, which will help you, do better in extracurriculars and keep you happier. And it's a cycle that keeps going, that keeps uplifting you. But it can also go the opposite direction as well if you don't give those non-academic things the time that they deserve.
Yeah.
And just to add on to that, one tip that I had was, like, in your freshman year, just try out as many extracurriculars as possible, but don't go too deep into anyone. But so you can find out what you like, because like you said, if you're happier, you'll do better. So doing more in extracurriculars that you like more helps with your mental health as well. So freshman year, just explore as many as possible, but then sophomore, junior year, dive deep into things that you like. So this way, you won't get burned out or too tired from working on something.
Especially if you have to make sure that you're balancing. So make sure that, take things that you like, because if you're happier, you're gonna do more, you're gonna do better. And especially so the problem where extracurriculars like interfere with your personal life is if you take extracurriculars that you don't like because someone else told you, oh, take these extracurriculars, right? So say like, I'm joining the debate club because somebody said, oh, the debate club's great and you get to go compete nationally, but I really just don't like debate at all. Well, but I'm doing it because of my college application. Don't do it because of that. Do it because you like it. Do it because it makes you happy. All right. So now, once we're done with that, let's transition into the college application part of that. So essentially, I'm going to ask the same question, but it's just like, how do you plan for your college applications?
So I think in the summer, as soon as like junior year ended, I just had looked at the Common App essay prompts that Ms. Ingebrigtsen also had up there a few slides ago, but I had looked at all the different college application essays, like the Common App essays, and I was like, I was just coming up with brainstorming with different ideas of like what I could write about, just based on like what I was really passionate about. So the one I chose was the first one. It was like, what's something you can't like describe yourself without? And so for me, that was really dance. And so I was thinking about what I was really invested in throughout my whole life, and like. Just finding something that you're passionate about to write, because this college application is what's going to help you, what's going to take you to where you want to be for the next 4 years of your life. So you want to make sure you're really invested and you truly like what you put out there to different colleges. So if you write about something that you're not really interested in, but you're feeling like you're forced to write about it, then don't write about it. There's so many different topics that have like a variety of different scopes that you can talk about. So if you have a passion that you really want to talk about, then talk about it. So for me, it was dance, and I really expressed how I like started dance as a child, and like I did a variety of different dance forms, and like I grew, and like I took leadership and took initiative by teaching younger students dance, and like by also going to different events and like dancing at like dancing at different performances and stuff, and so like how that helped me become a better person overall, and like find a passion and like be able to work as a team and like communicate with others. So like that's what I wrote about in my essay, and I was able to very easily write it. I didn't write it over the summer, but I wrote it just as school was starting, like in August or September my senior year. But I had already had brainstormed what I was going to write about, and because the topic that I was going to write about was very deep in my heart and like was so personal to me, it was very easy, and like the idea of what I wanted to write about was coming very fluently, and so that helped my essay. It turned out to be a very unique essay, I personally believe, and like I feel like if you put passion into your essay, the college that you apply to will also see that passion, and like will also be able to see your personality if you write about something that shaped your personality. So really try to make sure you want to talk about in your application stuff that like is very personal to you, and not like the broad stuff like stuff that you were forced to do. Talk about stuff that you want to do and stuff that you're interested in, because that's what colleges are looking for, is just find out who you truly are as a person, not what the numbers or like the transcript or the grades show.
So for my college application process, I started researching around junior year and had a checklist of colleges I would like to apply to. And around junior summer, I had a whole plan, like I would write these many essays per day, I'd get my common app done by this time, and nothing in the plan ended up working out. So writing was a lot more unpredictable than expected. Sometimes for my common app essay, it took me a month, but like towards the end of the process, I was finishing like 3 essays per day, which was unexpected. So what I'm trying to get at is you gotta be a little flexible with your plan for college application. Give yourself plenty of time, because these essays were not easy to predict how much time you spend on, and I'd like to say they were not fun to write, but some of them were actually pretty fun to write. Others were not as fun. But overall, I'd say the best thing when it came to these essays was giving myself plenty of time, not pushing anything to the last minute, and having at least some rough deadlines to stick by. One thing I struggled with was just like letting go of an essay. That's like I can fix it a bit better. I can use this word instead. But the process just like saying, okay, no more. I think this is enough, and just letting it go was something I had to learn to do over the process, and I wish I'd learned a bit sooner.
For me, one of the biggest tips I would say, especially if you're like a freshman or sophomore or even in middle school, what you can start doing now is keeping like a journal or like a list of all the important things that you do, or like the important events that have happened to you or that you've taken a part of, so that when you get time to like the brainstorming process, you kind of have a lot of ideas to pick and choose from. That was something that someone told me when I was a senior, so it wasn't very helpful by then, but I thought it was pretty good advice for someone a little bit earlier in the process. Because I remember trying to brainstorm, different ideas, and I would just be like, racking my brain trying to come up with this stuff, and I had to go to my parents and ask, do you remember this? Do you remember that? And they're like, yeah, I remember this. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. So that's kind of important. I think it will help the brainstorming process. Again, speaking about the essays, I think Nishad was talking about how important that passion is. I think that is absolutely true, especially when you start applying to more elite and more prestigious institutions that are harder to get into. Because at that point, everyone has a 4.0 GPA, everyone has a 1500 plus SAT score. You're not going to stand out and differentiate yourself based on those numbers. It's not a numbers game at that point. From then on, it is about who you are as a person and being more than just numbers and words on a page. You have to be a real person. And your essay is one of the most important ways that you can show who you are. I ended up choosing that third prompt, like reflect on a time where your beliefs were challenged. How did you react? What was the outcome of that whole situation? And I remember, asking a lot of different people to read it. Some people who were very close to me, who knew me well, and some counselors at the school. And the biggest thing I was looking for out of that essay was that it should move you. You should not just read it and okay, go to the next one. You should really stick with you, and because that's what's going to get you moved to the next pile for that next round of review. And I think if you can do that, you will be more successful, especially as you start applying to those more elite institutions.
So in an application, like when you apply to colleges, you have like all the standard stuff of like what your grades are, what your like test scores are, and like all the standard stuff is pretty much basic. But what really like shows you off as a person is the essays, and then something else that we have touched on kind of slightly was the extracurriculars. And in a college application, you get up to like 8 to 10 slots to fill out whatever extracurriculars you've done in high school. And yes, it's a good thing to have a lot of different variety of stuff and like say like, oh yeah, I've done like this, and fill out all 10 of your extracurriculars. But also, you want to have like a select few or maybe like 5 or 6 that like you've really invested a lot of time in, because colleges also want to see that like you're committed to excelling in like very specific things. And like if you just say that like, oh, I've spent like 1 hour, 2 hours a week in like 10 different clubs, that's not going to look as great as like saying I invested like 5 to 6 hours a week into like three specific extracurriculars, and like I really like earned a lot of achievements and I accomplished a lot in this extracurriculars that I enjoyed doing for that long period of time. So make sure when you do your extracurriculars, not only do you pick a wide variety that like you feel like you're forced to do just because there's 10 slots on your college application, make sure you also like have like interest in every single thing that you do, so that like you invest a lot of time and it's not feeling like a lot of pressure or burden to you.
So I'd like to make.
Sorry.
Oh, you want to
go
go
back?
ahead?
So it's not really important to add that not everyone is going to have the same extracurricular profile, and you probably shouldn't try to copy someone else's. For example, one of my best friends is really good at the violin, while I'm tone deaf. So if I try to join the orchestra, and it wouldn't end up that well. So everyone has their own like specific talents and things that they like more. So try to focus more on things that come easily to you, or things that you'd enjoy doing, and don't try to copy someone else's path, because everyone has their own path in this thing, and just be who you are.
So one small piece of information that I'd like to add is there's a thing that colleges release called the Common Data Set each year. They essentially put like everything there's a lot of things in the Common Data Set, but the main thing that I look at is the part where it shows each part, like extracurriculars, GPA, your location. They put a ton of factors that they use for admitting students into their institution, right? So I haven't looked at like a ton, but I've looked at 15, 20 or so, right? And I've seen that consistently. Essays are one thing that have always been marked as very important. They're always one thing that every single college admissions place will look at, because they'll see you as just a number on a paper, right? A GPA is just a 4, it's out of a 0 to 4. SAT is out of 400 to 1600. But essays are completely unique, and each one of those has to be evaluated, and each one of these essays show a person, right? And they want to see you as a person. So those things are things that you don't have to work on right now, but you do want to find out of things that you want to do that you can put on those essays, and those are the real important things for college. So there's really one more thing that we want to talk about before we open the panel for discussion, because I want you guys all to ask questions. It would be really good. But the last thing is really, there's 2 ways to apply to college, and there's a lot of there's early action and there's regular decision, and I want to, and within early action there's like a ton of types, so I just want you guys to break down that whole application process there.
Do you want me to do the breakdown then? Yeah. So, like you said, you have 2 kind of rounds for applying. You have the early round and you have the regular round. So in the early round you have 3 types technically. You have early action, restrictive early action, and early decision. So early action is basically you apply early, usually October 15th. It depends on where. If you're talking, UGA, Georgia Tech, it's October 15th. And so you will submit your entire application by that point. And you will get a response accepted, denied, or deferred in December. So accepted means, you're accepted, you're in. Denied means you're denied, you're not in. Deferred means we kind of like what we see, but we don't want to admit you right now. So then you will apply in December or January at the regular decision round, and they will reconsider your application at that point. So that gives you a chance to beef up certain sections of your application that were kind of weak. If you didn't have the SAT score that you wanted when you had to apply in October, you're like, okay, I'm going to take it again in November, and then you can use that on your regular decision application. Then that's early action. Then you have restrictive early action. So that's done by like private schools like Harvard and Yale. They have restrictive early action. It's similar. They say you can't apply to any